Okay, we're live. And I want to welcome you to our Personal Development Mastermind on Inner Voice by Russ Whitney. If you don't have the book, it's okay, because I'm going to read for you, and then we're going to discuss this afterwards. And, mastermind, I guess you can say. So far we've kind of gone over Chapter 1, and I'm just finishing up that chapter, and I'm on page 10. So I'll just go ahead and get started. There's a little inner voice whisper I'm just going to read off here. You can be exceptionally kind, loving, giving, and respectful without being a slave to the opinions of others. Accept that other people will disapprove of some of the things you do, and you'll free yourself to do truly magnificent things. Okay, not your typical Hawaiian vacation. I had no idea what to expect. I didn't have an address for this secret retreat. All I knew was that it was on the island of Oahu, and that anyone who was accepted by the facility would be met at the airport and driven there. The pictures I'd seen showed an oceanfront, secluded mansion with beautiful suites, a gym, and other first-class amenities. The structured program included meeting and working with various specialists, therapists, and doctors. A key part of the process was a completely healthy diet, prepared by the on-site gourmet chef. Daily exercise, plenty of sessions on the life change process, and no intoxicants whatsoever. What? No alcohol? I had never been an out-of-control excessive drinker. During most of my warrior years, I'd indulged in alcohol, but never to excess and rarely during the work week. But during the year or so before I went to Hawaii, my alcohol consumption had increased, and I wasn't comfortable with the idea that I suddenly couldn't drink at all, not even a glass of wine with dinner. Nevertheless, I was willing to give this whole program a try. At that point, even though I had lost more than 80% of my net worth, I still had enough resources that I didn't have to worry about doing something to make money right away. I decided that since I had been working 15-hour days, often 7 days a week, for most of my adult life, I was entitled to a break. A luxurious retreat in Hawaii was as good a place as any for a vacation, for the chance to relax and think about what I was going to do next. But I was still in warrior mode, so I approached that break with a warrior attitude, and if I wasn't going to get any alcohol at the retreat, it made sense to drink plenty during the flight. I got off the plane in Hawaii with a pretty good alcohol buzz. It was, after all, going to be my last hurrah before making a major life change. After being alone for the 18-hour flight, I was having second thoughts about this whole thing when I got off the plane. I certainly didn't need any more alcohol, but I was trying to delay the inevitable. So I decided to stop at the airport bar for another drink. I'm not sure how long I stayed there or how much I had to drink, but when I finally decided to go down to baggage claim to meet my host, there was only one piece of luggage on the carousel. It was mine, and there were two people there to meet me, both with sincere smiles on their faces. One was Herman, a big fellow, about 6'3", who would come to play a significant role in my life and the Inner Voice program. The other was a lovely lady I would know only briefly. Neither one of them seemed at all put out with me for having made them wait. They were as genuinely gracious and kind as they could be. I remember wondering what I'd gotten myself into and thinking that they'd better not start holding hands and singing Kumbaya. The man grabbed my luggage, and the woman insisted on carrying my briefcase. There was an aura of peace about them that I couldn't understand or relate to at the time, although I have since come to understand it clearly, and you will too. We climbed into a Range Rover and headed off to the mysterious retreat. I made a few jokes about stopping somewhere for a happy hour drink. They'd probably heard those kind of jokes before, and they laughed with me, but we didn't stop. We finally arrived at the secluded mansion that was going to be my home for the next few months. Although the estate was as beautiful as the pictures had indicated, I was starting to realize that this wasn't going to be a purely fun vacation. As I walked into the main building, I arrogantly demanded to see the various amenities. They showed me around, and I was critical of everything. Actually, I was looking for an excuse to get out of there. I was used to being in charge, to being the leader. I didn't even know what was going to happen there. So how could I feel as if I were in control of it? I just wanted to escape and get back to a place where I could control things. I told the two men who had greeted me at the door that I had decided to leave. I'd get a hotel room for the night and head back to Florida the next day. They seemed to understand, but asked me to at least look at the suite that was ready for me. I decided it wouldn't hurt to be polite and take their brief tour, but I was still looking for opportunities to let them know that Russ Whitney didn't want or need what they had to offer. In retrospect, I have to applaud them for not laughing out loud at the absurd things I said and did. For example, as I followed them up the stairs, I noticed some small stains on the carpet and decided to announce that I was above staying in a place that wasn't absolutely perfect. I stopped, pointed at the stains, and pompously said, "Whoa, look at those stains! I'm out of here." I headed back down the stairs, grabbed my luggage, and was out the door in less than a minute. I asked someone to call a limo to take me to Waikiki. I could get a hotel room there, maybe spend a few days on the beach, and then make arrangements to fly home. Looking back, I can see how irrational my behavior was. I wasn't in control. I was still feeling the effects of the alcohol I'd consumed on the plane and at the airport, and I wasn't thinking straight. It was just starting to get dark, and I headed down the long driveway to the gate, where I assumed the limo would be. I heard footsteps running behind me. It was Jose, one of the men who had greeted me at the door. Speaking with a thick Latin accent, he asked me to reconsider staying. I assured him that the place was not up to my standards, something that I know now wasn't true. The facility was absolutely beautiful. Jose persisted. He told me about others who had experienced great success after going through the program. I continued walking to the gate. Then Jose started telling me about some of the high-profile executives and celebrities whose lives had been changed for the better at this retreat. He mentioned the name of a famous actor who, just the previous week, had stayed in the suite they had reserved for me. At first I had no idea whom he was talking about, but I finally realized how badly Jose, with his strong accent, was butchering the name of a man you would probably immediately recognize. I started to laugh, laughter that bordered on hysterical. Jose laughed with me. Finally promising that this would be a life-changing experience for me, he talked me into going back inside and at least staying the night. I was still skeptical, but without my own transportation, my options were limited. Once in the suite, which was as large and elegant as the presidential suite in any first-class hotel, I realized how exhausted I was. I said a prayer and crawled into bed. I was here. What would be the harm in giving it a chance? Before I could spend any more time wondering what tomorrow would bring, I fell into a deep sleep. So here is a story of a man struggling internally just to try to figure out what is going on with his life. And I find it interesting how just that one person, Jose, was able to just shift his mind just a little bit to make him think things through a little better, right? So I just find it amazing how one person can make such a big difference, I think. Okay, moving on. When the dawn came, I was scheduled to be at the retreat for 45 days, with an option to stay longer if I wanted to. At that point, I had no idea how much work I had to do or how long it was going to take. I was accustomed to making quick decisions, taking immediate action, and getting quick results. I figured this experience wouldn't be much different from anything else I'd done, except that it was set against the backdrop of an exquisite Hawaiian location. I was so wrong. In my wildest thoughts, I had no idea what was going to happen to me. I had no idea that what was going to happen to me would turn into a way of life that would be more fun and more fulfilling than any amount of money or material success I'd had so far. My first 3 days were occupied with medical exams, psychological evaluations, and mandatory meetings. I was cooperative, although still in warrior mode and waiting to see some evidence that this experience was what I needed. That evidence came on the 3rd day. I was being nagged by a very clear thought that I couldn't escape, although it would be a while longer before I completely comprehended that this was a higher power speaking to me through my inner voice. The message was relentless. I needed to learn every bit of information that was being so freely shared by the staff and others at this retreat. I needed to make dramatic changes in my life if I wanted to reach a place of joy, contentment, and freedom in spirit. And I needed to prepare to take that knowledge to my existing audience, the more than 6 million people around the world who had either bought one of my earlier books or attended one of my seminars, and beyond. From that point forward, I understood my purpose, my mission, and dedicated myself to it. I don't think my teachers and counselors, the ones at the retreat and those who came later as I continued my journey, ever had a more enthusiastic and determined student. As I began to comprehend the magic of the inner voice, one of my biggest challenges was communicating it to others. Is it your relationship with God? Is it your subconscious? Is it some form of infinite intelligence? Is it a higher power? Is it intuition? Is it a program? And the answer, as I would come to understand it, is yes. It is all of those things and more. And in time, I learned how to articulate it as I am doing now. So let's talk about what the inner voice is. And that's the end of the first chapter. Just a little quote that is at the end of page 13 here. It says, "Leave the world a better place. Be sure one life has breathed easier because you have lived." So, like I was saying, this is the story of how Russ Whitney became so determined to figure out why his life was falling apart. And at first he didn't want to, like he was saying. He was very, he was fighting it the whole way because he wanted to have control. But that's not how it was meant to happen. You know, as he goes along, he realizes in order for this to take place, I'm going to have to let go. I'm going to have to surrender to whatever higher power is leading me and trust this inner voice inside that is telling me, you need to do this. You're meant for more. Your purpose is ahead of you. Just keep pushing through. You know, we all have that inner voice that helps to guide us. It just, I think, a matter of how we choose to understand it or perceive it, if that makes any sense. What do you guys think?
Oh, yeah. No, it's interesting, like you said, the first obstacle was resistance. There's something new, you put resistance, the first thing you want to fight is in a warrior mode. So you want to fight everything you don't like, you don't perceive as friendly, so you are against it. Even the fact that there no alcohol in a resort, for him was a big setback. Yeah. So he had to provide a solution for that. And knowing little that at the very end, the purpose was to be free from alcohol. Not so he had to change his point of view, right, and release some resistance and abandon himself. I mean, the ego, the selfishness, let it be. Yeah. Yeah. Let it happen, because something he recognized there was a force that he could actually identify, but it was coming from a higher power, right? And he had to surrender, like you said, and let it be.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, so many times we don't realize how important it is to just get the process going and surrender whatever outcome happens to, you know, a higher power or God or the universe, whatever you want to call it. I call it God because I think,
You believe, yeah.
I can't remember who said, what, was it Paul? I think you told me, Paul, you know, God created the universe, so I'm going to go with God. But, you know, it's so important to take the action, to take the steps to move forward, because that then pushes everything else in motion. But at the same time, you can't have control over everything that's going to happen. There's certain things that you do have control over. You have control over how many people you talk to a day. You have control over how many messages you send out on Facebook. You have control over a lot of things. But the things that you don't have control over, how the person responds, who sends you a message back, those things you don't have control over. So you have to just keep doing the process and let the result, you know, take its course. That's how I perceive like this whole surrender
Yeah,
thing. As it comes to
sometimes it
business.
happens. It could happen unconsciously because
Right.
in his case as well, Russ Whitney,
Mm-hmm.
he said many times that when he was young, when he started his business, he started his business reading one book,
Mm-hmm.
and he said he was ignorant enough to believe that since it's written in a book, it must be true. So in this case, his answer was coming unconsciously because I mean he wasn't his ego finding the solution, but the solution was coming to him in a form of a book, and only because his state of mind was very open and naive, he accepted the book as true, and he took for granted that it was a solution for his life, for his business, and he was able to produce a change. So sometimes, I mean, God or the universe will provide you with the answer, even though you don't know that. You're unaware. So and from one side, you need to be open, but sometimes you're already open and you don't know. So something happens to you for a reason. It's only when you become too much involved. So you think you got the power, you feel powerful, you feel a warrior, you think you can do everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the things start going wrong, because something happens to you, to say, cool down, because you got plenty more to learn.
Yeah, that's so
And pretty
true.
much that's what happened to him, because at the beginning he was quite naive. He started his own business from scratches, so he was very open because he was naive. So he wasn't offering any resistance. So he was taking everything as he was coming. He was very, very smart to, to be a hard worker and to reach a stage where he could say, "Oh, that's my dream." But then when he started again, finding himself in trouble and finding difficult to deal with new situations, a new kind of people, because he couldn't actually relate to other
Right.
people, because until then he was only his own world, never been challenged by anyone else, almost.
Yeah. Very good. Paul, you're sitting there quietly. What are your thoughts?
I mean, the thing that stood out to me the most about that was he was in warrior mode most of the time, fighting the process. And at some point, he made a decision. And he's like, I'm here for a reason. I'm here to change my life. And if I keep fighting it while I'm here, that's not going to happen. So he just made a decision to change his life in that instant. And from there on, he started like he said, he was like probably one of the best, if not the best, clients or students or whatever you want to call it in that facility.
Right.
So I think it came down to that decision. So he was fighting it the whole way, and there are times in our lives where we want to be completely in control, and we want to fight the process. We want to do it our way. We want to, and a lot of the time, if you do that, you're going to get stuck. You're not going to move in the direction you should be moving in, because what you see is not exactly what you need to be doing. I mean, you kind of just have to let the process unfold. You follow the process, let the process, and so that's what stood out to me, was the decision in that instant that pretty much changed things for him. Because he could have kept fighting it. He could have kept fighting it, but by letting go, so to speak, and letting that process to happen, he grew, and he was able to. And the other thing is, he said it wasn't just about him. He said it's about his 6 million followers, right? So it wasn't just about him. It wasn't a selfish decision. It was about his followers and providing to his followers. So
Exactly.
So he's like, I need to do this for me and for my followers. I need to do it because I need to be in a place where I can inspire them and help them. So, and that goes back to something I heard this week about showing up for yourself. It's kind of the same idea. You have to show up for yourself, do the things you need to do, because you have followers. You have people that are going to be inspired by your actions. And if you're not showing up for yourself, then you're not showing up for them.
Right.
And so, I don't know, I kind of tie that in there too.
No, it's all very valid and very good points, because there are so many people, I guess you can say, waiting, for you to come through to your senses and do something about the situation that you're in, or to grow the business that you're growing. There's so many people that you're supposed to touch in that process. And if you don't follow through on your purpose, on what the plan is for you to do, you're never going to be able to reach those people. And it goes back to the Jose guy who ran after him at the gate. Like, he was ready to walk out. He was already walking out to the gate and looking for a taxi or a limo or whatever could come by and get him out of there. And if it wasn't for Jose, who was so persistent to convince him to just go back and just stay the night, just one more night, just to see what might happen. If it wasn't for that one night, he wouldn't have done this, And I've always gone through like different circumstances that come up in life by thinking, I have a purpose to do something with my life. If I'm in a bad spot, that means I need to create a story out of this and get up out of this hole. So this story that I'm creating is not just for my own sake. It's for the people that I'm going to be helping by telling this story later on. Right? Like you were saying, Paul, he was doing this not just for himself, but for people who were going to follow him, for the 6 million people who've already purchased his books or gone to his seminars. So it's really it's important, I think, to see this like on a non-selfish level, like we were saying. It's not just about you. There's a bigger picture out there that you can't even imagine. You can't even begin to fathom like the spider web that goes out just because of one decision that you make. It's so powerful.
Yes, way, way bigger than you. And when you start thinking that way, that's when big things start happening.
Absolutely.
Because then you're like, I need to get better, not for me, but for everyone else.
Right.
I need to get better because I know there are people out there that I can inspire and need me to be there, to be that guide, to be that inspiration, to be that light on the hill, right?
Yeah.
And like so many of us are so selfish. All we think about is ourselves. But if you go beyond just thinking of yourself and you start going, okay, what can I do to really I mean, I don't want to say change people's lives, but essentially it's kind of what you're doing when you go beyond yourself. When it's
Yeah.
not about you, you want to get better because you know that you need to get better to help other people. People you don't even know right now. People
Yeah.
you don't know the names of, never heard of. You're going to inspire them because you're getting better. They're going to see what you're doing, and that's going to fuel. You don't know. I mean, you don't know like what's going to happen. You say you're doing something day in, day out, and you feel like no one's watching you, no one's even paying any attention, but you don't know who you're reaching. You don't know if it's like someone that's just been on really hard times, and hearing your voice, sharing a story is all it's going to take for them to turn their life around,
Absolutely.
to get started. Anthony Robbins like says, decisions happen in an instant. It's like that instant things change. So it's perhaps your story or your actions or your example in that instant changes someone else's path. And to me, that's exciting. And but we have to be open to the process. It's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. So, I mean, I know for me, for example, for the longest time, I had nobody talking to me, no one saying anything about what I do, no one coming to me, nothing. And that's discouraging. When you're putting yourself out there and you want to help people, it's discouraging. But what happens, though, if you do it long enough, people start noticing, and you don't even know who you're reaching. I mean, I have people that watch all of my videos. That's crazy to me because I have a lot of videos, and for the longest time, I'm just doing it. I'm just doing the process, and it's still not where I want it to be, but it's gotten way, way, way better than it used to be. I mean, but you just have to always know that it's not about you. It's about who else you can help, and you have to be that inspiration for them to. Some people just won't move until they see someone else doing it. So
It's very true. All right. Well, I think we can wrap it up there unless you have anything else anyone wants to add.
Yeah, just to come back to Jose, because for Russ Whitney was a pivoting point, a pivoting person, because thanks to him, he was able to change back, to go back, to change back. So in life, even though we don't give inspiration to other people, but we could be pivoting their life from negative to positive, and it changed completely life around without even knowing.
Right. That's so true. Yeah. There's go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, like, in the teaching profession, obviously teachers don't get paid a whole lot, but the reason, if you talk to most teachers, the reason they're teachers is not because of the compensation. It's because of the opportunity to have significance, to help other people, to touch a kid and change that kid's life, set them on a path to have them be successful. And and watching the growth is always fun, like having them go from one point to this whole other point. That's really what I love about any of those kind of fields. Anything with significance where you can work with someone, they go from one point to a whole different place, and that's, to me, is the most fun to watch, is the journey, seeing the journey. And but yeah, definitely, like, I think that's what we're meant to be doing. We're meant to be inspiring others through our actions, and if we're not taking actions that are going to inspire anyone, if we're focusing on negative thoughts and not doing anything to make ourselves better, to improve ourselves, I don't really see, like, what are we worth? What is the point? What is the point? So I think we always should be looking for ways to provide more value and help more people, and that's just where I'm coming from. And I know it's a time-tested principle. The more people you help, the more you're going to get what you want. The more people you help get what they want, the more you'll have what you want. And it just blows up. So, I'm not saying that's why you need to do it, but
but if that's the initial motivator, you know,
knowing that it's more than you, I think that's what really fires people up. I mean, I know that's what fires me up. When I realize I have people following me, I have people looking up to me to guide them in a way, that makes me want to get better. That makes me want to do more trainings. That makes me want to follow a plan daily and not deviate from it. You know, so that's what it does for me. And that's what I bring to it. I'm like, I don't have a choice. Like, I have to perform, you know. It's not a choice. It's not like, oh, maybe not. No, it's like I need to get better. I just need to get better. I need to focus on it every day and get better. Because the better I get, the more I can help more people. And then they can help more people. And then we just start moving in that direction. So
creating a wave.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Definitely. Absolutely.
Cool. Then we're gonna we'll continue next Saturday we'll start chapter 2. And if you don't have the book, it is a great book. I highly recommend actually getting it so you can go in and highlight the things that stick out to you. I love highlighting. I mean, people make fun of me and say, well, why don't you just highlight the whole book? Because I highlight everything.
Yeah. So was I.
But it's one of those things that I like to do because then I can just easily go back and see, okay, well, what stuck out to me before? And you know, maybe pull some of that material to help put on my Facebook wall or for whatever, you know, to make a video or something like that. But it's always good to see those things stick out again with the bright yellow highlighter.
Yeah, you just made a great point, and I know this isn't a business conversation, but right there, that's a great point. You pull things out, like when you're reading something, just highlight it, write a note, whatever. Video, blog, right there, boom.
Yeah, secret business tip.
Yeah,
I know. Mastermind.
This isn't a business one, but that's just something that popped up there, so I thought I would share that. But.
Awesome. All right, well, have a great week.
Thank you.
Yes. Round of applause. And remember to, you know, just leave the world a better place. If there's something that you can do to help someone's day, even if it's just a smile, get better.
It's gone.
I think she's gone again.
Are we still online?
We're still live, yeah.
I don't know what's going on. I keep dropping off. I don't know why. All right, so obviously we love to have fun here. I'm glad we all have a sense of humor. All right, so have a great week. Be sure one life has breathed easier because you helped make it better. That was what I was going to say. So I'll see you guys next Saturday, and same time, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Yeah, have a great week. Yay!
Thank you.
That was very clever, Paul the Cricket. A nice one.